Hi Leo, welcome to your mid-May 2020 General Tarot Updates. It's Raina here, just shuffling the cards here. Oh, that's great. I love to see that. Huh. Okay. I'm going to leave that, it's so funny. It's so rare for me nowadays to get a reversed card. I don't even check the deck anymore. But in this case, because of the nature of this card, I'm going to leave it be because I think that this is actually a positive thing. Not that I have to end on an up note, but I do like to end on a constructive type of a place, in a constructive place. So I think that end card will be like that. Because, what I meant to say is that sometimes reverse cards are actually more positive than the upright version. So the heart of the matter is the Magician card, which is a card you can see the Magician's table or whatever you want to call it, which has different elements. I think it's supposed to represent all of the elements, like the cup and the earth, water, fire. Actually, I don't see fire. I see a rose. That must be for the fire. And the bottom line is that the Magician, unlike our concept of magic, is really about alchemy, I would say, where you're taking what you have and you're turning it into something that is really beneficial and positive. So it might just be something that is not as good and you turn it into something great. Or if you are trying to start something, you may have very modest means, but you're still being a co-creator. And this is something I think is not really promoted a lot, where we just say, hey, just do whatever you can in this moment with what you have. Don't wait until you have a business loan to, have this grandiose type of an opening. Just start where you are with what you have and do what you can. And that to me is the Magician card in a nutshell, but also just the whole idea of autonomy, doing for self rather than being dependent on somebody else, or thinking that somebody else is going to do it for you or save you, but really having that sense of initiative. Number one, starting something out. This card is connected to Aries, so if there's an Aries person in your life, definitely if you're a Leo, 2 fire signs, in the past position we have the Lovers card, so certainly that could be a romantic situation that has occurred. But if you have broken up with somebody, the Magician may represent your autonomy, your ability to be by yourself and stand on your own 2 feet. Certainly could be something along those lines, going from being coupled to being independent. And the Lover's card can be a choice. And the choice may be something that is distinctive between 2, completely different realities. So for instance, if this is a professional situation, do I work for myself or do I work for somebody else? Actually, the Lover's card can even be like a partnership. And so if that is kind of like in the, some kind of question about it, the chances are you're going to prefer to work for yourself. And the Magician card is definitely about autonomy. And by the way, Leo makes a good leader, but leaders tend not to want to follow. So it's one of those things where when somebody is, wanting to do something in life, they may be good at leading others, but when it comes time to following something, they don't want to, and I think this is true of fire signs in general, because I'm a Sagittarian and Aries is the other fire sign. We are people that tend to have our own sense of self, and therefore we know what we want, and we may feel like other people are not doing what we want them to do. Doesn't mean that we're controlling. So if you find that you're very independent now, Leo, you don't have to apologize for that. There may be a very good reason why this is a particular season of your life. And then we look at the higher perspective, and we have the Knight of Swords. Now, typically, I wouldn't see, if this is an aspect of you that is taking over, I wouldn't see this as, typical for Leos, unless you have a moon sign, for instance, in, let's say, Pisces or Cancer, or I don't even know if Cancer would be like that, that is more meek and mild. Maybe Virgo, maybe, I don't know. I have a moon in Virgo. I don't think I would go for that. But I'm saying like a sign, or inner planets in Virgo or Cancer, where you're more likely to take a back seat. Usually Leos are very bold. They can be sometimes pushy if they're a little bit imbalanced. But not all Leos are the same. If your sun is in the 12th house, if there's so many shades and flavors of different signs that it's hard to generalize. So if you find that you have suddenly grown a backbone, I would say that the Knight of Swords is showing that you're becoming more outspoken. Now, perhaps this is simply that you have had some kind of, I call it like a spiritual awakening, or even just, I would say it could be like a spiritual awakening, even if it's more on the psychological level, where you are realizing that you have rights, and this may have come from a relationship that was really quite challenging or negative, and this could even be in the workplace where you feel like you were under somebody else's thumb. And like I said, Leo tends to be a very, sometimes even overpowering sign, but it's possible, my feeling is that for some people, they can be that way in their professional life, and sometimes very submissive in their private life. That's the area where they are vulnerable, where they tend to kind of overgive, or I think Leos are very generous, but sometimes maybe it's excessively so. And this can bring out the people that have a tendency to take advantage of others, and it just may be a situation where you are realizing that you have a voice and that you need to speak out more, not in an overbearing way, but just to declare your sovereignty, I guess you would call it. And what crosses you is the Page of Swords. Now, here we have the Knight and we have the Page. Now, I would also, did I say that the Lover's card is connected to Gemini? Because it is, and we have these swords here. So if you have been involved with a Gemini individual, it's possible that this is a very immature kind of a person. I would even say with the Knight of Swords, that this person, with the Page of Swords in reverse, this person may utilize psychological manipulation to keep you under their thumb. The Page of Swords read in a challenging position can indicate somebody who is immature, and because of this, they use abusive speech and their own paranoia is projected onto another person to kind of like give the impression that it's your fault that such and such is happening. And really they're just projecting what's going on inside of them, or they're trying to manipulate you to get you to feel guilty all the time. These kinds of ploys are used in order to have the upper hand in a relationship. And it's really up to you, Leo, to identify this. This person, it's hard for me to tell if this person is still in your life. I feel like with the Magician card, that even if they are in your life, you are starting to get their number, and you're starting to speak up for yourself. You know that you have to. You know that you have to not internalize their negative, their accusations or whatever it is that they're trying to do, because they have an agenda. What else was I going to say about this? I was going to say something else. What I was going to say is that this person, for some reason, I think maybe I'm just thinking of the type of behavior. Maybe this person is a Sun in Scorpio, but they have a Moon in Gemini. And they have, people like that will have this kind of like, they blow hot and cold. And they may have their own psychological problems, which means that, and part of it is sometimes they want to get close, but they're afraid. And so they turn it on you to try to make you out to be the bad guy. The reason I say, I think the reason I say this too is because with the Page of Swords in the challenge position, I think of like that scorpionic type of vibe, or maybe they're a Libra with the moon, with Mercury in Scorpio. And they tend to be paranoid. They tend to read into things that they shouldn't. And, and Libra is an air sign, so it's connected to the swords as well. And, these kinds of relationships can be very difficult, because if you are buying into this, you're believing that it's your fault, and they have you right where they want you. So you have to be careful not to fall for the okie doke, And the other thing too is this can be in the workplace, but I see it less as a what do you call it? A boss, but more of a coworker. And there may be something with a coworker who is a narc, or somebody, they're kind of like going behind your back. The Page of Swords is like what do you call it? The spy card, I call it. And so the person's gathering information, but they're using against you because they're trying to get your position, especially if you have advanced, like if you've gotten some kind of a promotion or something like that. Maybe you were working with this person and now you're their boss, their, what do you call it, like supervisor. And so they have this thing of like, oh my gosh, we used to be, it's like you're higher on the food chain right now. So they can't handle that. Some people are really weird about this. And so they get very vindictive and they try to kind of poison the well and things like that. What's coming in is represented by the Ten of Swords. This is a card of betrayal. So, but it can be the end of a cycle that has been, kind of on the negative side, that the worst is over of a certain cycle. So if this has been something where you are working for somebody else and you have kind of like manifested a supervisory role or something that you're more independent, then maybe there was some kind of fallout with that, where somebody didn't take too kindly to you kind of like having that job promotion, and so their ego might have been bruised, but things are going to settle down. If this is a relationship issue, look out for somebody coming back. Now, we are having a Venus retrograde that is happening. I think it's on May 13th, so it is for that mid-month period. We're actually having 3 retrogrades: Saturn, then Venus, and then Jupiter on the 14th. So, the mid-month of May is a time when we're going to start seeing some review. Now, a lot of us probably already feel like we've been stuck in a retrograde for 2 months. So this is going to be interesting. It might actually be an improvement over some of the stuff we've been dealing with. But in any case, I feel like this reading might be if you have broken it off with somebody, that they might be coming back. Now, if you were not the one to break off the relationship, you may feel like a little bit happy that this person is coming back. Be careful, because this person may have a sixth sense that you are getting on with your life, and they don't want that. They want to use you as a plaything. Now, I'm not going to say that 100%. There might be some circumstances where it makes sense to go back with somebody, but I just want to kind of talk to you about it on that level, because I certainly think that can happen. If somebody leaves and they come back, and they're acting like they have kind of full reign to just do that, there's a certain amount of what's that word, like gosh, how would I put it? You know what I mean? Like a sense of entitlement, maybe we would call it, that they feel that they have the right to do that, and they don't. They really don't. So be sure. Let's put it this way: be sure that if you're going to consider going back with somebody who may have left you, or even if you were the one to break it off, remember why you broke it off. Don't get so caught up in the moment that you don't remember, because if nothing has changed, then what makes you think it's going to change? I mean, if there's no discussion about what happened, or no acknowledgement that something was not quite right, then it doesn't really make sense to get back with somebody. And people do this all the time, and they're just so gratified that the person, it makes them feel like he can't live without me. Oh, I feel so flattered. And it's like then a week later you're like, why did I just do that? And then, like I said, I did get a reverse card for the outcome, the Seven of Wands. Now, if we look at it in the upright position, we see a very defensive posture. And this is a card of, kind of beating back the kind of an attack, okay? Now, I did get it in the reversed position. So when it's in the upright position, the person may be feeling kind of defensive, and maybe even is in that mode where they're like, I'm not going to take this anymore. So actually I said, well, I'm going to read this in a positive way. I am actually going to pick an additional card, because I think that this could be like your defenses are down, and that you're kind of getting like you're not that you're defenseless, but that feeling of like, oh, everything is okay after all, and you're not really seeing the true situation. Again, this does not have to be a personal relationship. This could be in the workplace. Somebody that is not honorable, that is not on your side, may be kind of schmoozing you and making you think that they are on the up and up, that they're really, that they have good intentions when they don't. And then you let your guard down, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you have gotten screwed again. Because with the Ten of Swords, this is a card of betrayal. So certainly you don't need more of that. So let me cut the cards and let's see what we get here. Page of Pentacles in reverse. So what I feel like is that, and this makes sense because of those retrogrades, is that if you are in the process of starting something, Leo, maybe it's your own business, your own endeavor, there may be like a period of time that you're going to be preparing for this, and that it's not happening right away. And so, because the Page of Pentacles can be that beginning, stage of some kind of money-making situation. But with the Magician card, this is card number one. Now, the Fool, of course, is before the Magician, but it is at the beginning. And so this could be the beginning stages. It might even just be an attitude that you're adopting, that you feel like, hey, I'm realizing that I have power in life, that I'm not powerless, and beginning that self-empowerment journey. But it, sometimes we get so enthusiastic, especially fire signs, that's like, hey, I want to just do these things, and there might be more preparation that is needed. And the same thing is if you have met somebody new, and you have broken up with somebody recently. Do not, it's better to, I don't tell people what to do, but it's a good idea to spend time reflecting on what has occurred, and not just like go right into a new relationship necessarily, because there may be things to sort out emotionally. But actually, this is a very good reading, because the centerpiece is the Magician card. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a very powerful card, because it really is about being resourceful, which means that you're just not being dependent, and you're taking, you're finding ways to make things, to get your needs met in maybe sometimes offbeat kind of ways. Sometimes when people are resourceful, they really figure out creative ways to get around things and to do things. And depending on why they need to be resourceful. But in any case, I hope that you enjoyed this. If you would like a personal reading, my readings are primarily astrology based. I do tarot readings too, privately, but in any case, I have different types of readings. So please visit rainandmoonastrology.com for more information. I have the link below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Bye.